Hi, this is Ron Sheets, and thank you for joining me on this webinar. I want to share with you a little bit about a new media that I discovered by accident working with a dental client in the Northern California area. But really, the important thing for you to take away from this is to look at this as a possible opportunity for you and your practice to be able to attract new patients. So in the more than 30 years I've been in business, I know of only 3 ways to grow a business or a practice. One is to attract more new clients or patients. The second is to get those patients or clients that you have already visiting or buying from you more frequently. Or third is to get those patients or clients buying from you more. With all the work that I have done in the dental field, I've discovered that there really are 2 categories or 2 groups of patients, and you can break them up very clearly. One is the patient who's looking for the quickest, cheapest way to get through dentistry or have dentistry done, cleanings, exams. They're the low-value patient to the practice. And this patient oftentimes is one that's sought after a lot by practices and advertised, and they are respondent to a lot of dental advertising. However, this group of patients I really identify as being the ideal patient for the big corporate practices like the Aspen Dentals, the Heartlands, or even for programs like Smile Direct Club. They're looking for the cheapest, fastest solution to whatever dental problem that they have. They're not a patient who is looking for long-term care. They just want a quick fix to their problem they have right now. Not necessarily a patient that's in pain, many of them are, but it's the patient who wakes up one morning with a toothache and wants to go to the dentist and just get it taken care of and doesn't want to hear about any other wreckage that they've got going on in their mouth. They just want that one thing fixed. That's all they came into the dental practice for, and then they're going to move on. And the only other time that they're going to come back to a dentist is the next time that they have a problem. The second group, or the second category of patient, which is of the higher value patient for independent dental practices, is that patient who's looking for a relationship, a long-term relationship with the practice, with the doctor. This is the patient who's going to come back 2 and 3 times a year for recare, for dental exams, x-rays, and cleanings. They're going to be open to treatment options that, dentures, Invisalign, implants, bridges, crowns, root canals. They're going to be open to dental care and dental treatment. They're looking for, and they value, long-term care. They're looking to develop a relationship with their dentist, and when they find a good one, they'll stick with them. These people that are in this second category is that they're looking for a dentist that they can develop a relationship with. They want somebody that they can know, like, and trust, who when they have a problem they can go to, they can be on a maintenance program. The doctor and the staff knows what they like, what they don't like, so that they can build this relationship. Really, you need to decide which of these 2 categories of patients do you want to go after? Which ones do you want to pursue? Which ones do you want to attract? And a lot of that has to do with the type of messaging that you're using, but more importantly, it's where you're reaching out to these particular patients. So when you advertise, the message that you use and the placement of your advertising is as much about repelling certain types of people as it is about attracting certain types of people. And I want to share 2 examples with you that I've actually had experience in, worked with. The first is the U.S. Marine Corps. Of all of the branches of the military, the U.S. Marine Corps stands separate. It positions itself separately from all the other branches of the military. So unlike the U.S. Army, the Navy, or the Air Force, the Marines' message is designed to resonate with a specific type of person. It's also designed to repel certain types of people. So a little piece of trivia is that the U.S. Marine Corps has annually a 50,000 person recruiting quota that they must attain and put into the U.S. Marines. 50,000 people. So in essence, in business sense, they're looking for 50,000 customers that they can put in there. Their messaging is very, very important, as well as where they're placing that messaging. So I want to show you 2 print ads that the U.S. Marine Corps has used. You've probably seen these, and you'll see they're very, very simple. There's 4 bullet points within these messages, and these 2 that I'm going to show you. The thing I want to point out that's most important and is most consistent in all Marine advertising is that last line. The last line in there says, if you have what it takes to make it. Here's the second ad. You'll see that it also appears in here. If you have what it takes to make it. That is a challenge to the people. But there is a very specific, a very narrow psychographic of the type of person that will enlist into the Marine Corps. Again, this is all about posturing and positioning. It also has to do with where they place their advertising. Another example is the Grand Hotel in Mackinac Island, Michigan. Now, the Grand Hotel you may be familiar with. It was featured in the movie several years ago with Christopher Reeves called A Place and Time. Specifically, though, I've been to the Grand Hotel, and I've stayed at the Grand Hotel. It's a beautiful place. It's a very expensive place. And the pricing that they use is partially in their positioning as to who they're for. It's also about who they push away, who they don't promote to. So, on average, a stay at the Grand Hotel, and they're only open a specific time of the year from spring to fall, you could pay as much as, for a simple room as shown here, you could pay as much as $900 a night for a stay. Now, this is pricing strategy to position who they're for, but also to who they repel. The bigger strategy, the bigger tactic at work with the Grand Hotel is not about their pricing, how much it costs to go there, but it is a matter of who they are seen with. Look at us, we're going to the Grand Hotel. We're staying at the Grand Hotel. We go there every summer. It's a matter of who they are. It's bragging rights for people who go and stay there. That's what this is really all about. So the Grand Hotel isn't going to be placing advertising in the local newspaper. They're going to be advertising where affluent people go. So, for instance, private airline magazines. So it really is about messaging and who you're attracting. That's the one thing. The bigger issue that comes into play, as we'll talk about further, is where you're reaching these people that you want to reach. Slide 9. So you have several media available to you that you can advertise in. And more than likely, you've advertised in print. You've advertised using direct mail. You may have tried radio and television. These are the big 4 media. The challenge with these media, as you've probably experienced, is that there are other people just like you. There are other businesses, other dentists just like you in this space. They're in this media. And now it becomes very much about your message as to how do you differentiate yourself from other dentists. You're in a cluttered media with other people just like you. And we're relying on the prospect to be able to differentiate between our message and the competitor's message. Unfortunately, patients, clients, they don't know how to differentiate, especially with professional services. The only way they know how to differentiate is based on experience. And they don't get that until they actually commit and come. And that's all internal once they're in your practice. Outside of that, we have to be in these media and we have to try to differentiate ourselves. Our message is what has to kind of cut through. So the challenge is that we're in cluttered spaces. So let's take radio and television. The challenge with these 2 media is the geographic reach. So radio and television, if we're advertising on local television or local radio, or even if we're going into cable television, our reach, where our commercials are being broadcast to, is reaching an audience that is outside the geographic area that they will come to us in. a lot of the money that we're investing in many of these advertisings is getting wasted because it's reaching people who aren't going to come to us just because of geography. The average patient won't travel more than 20 minutes to get to their doctor. So anything outside of that, the advertising is wasted, and your advertising dollars are wasted. So the ideal thing that you want to do is you want to be able to advertise in a vacuum. And what I mean by that is you want to be able to reach a patient that is not being spoken to by any competitors or is not being spoken to in a way by any other competitors in that media. I've done a lot of work in the erectile dysfunction business with regard to television and radio advertising, and a lot of our message, the dollars that we were investing in the message, was wasted because we were reaching people outside our geographic area as to where they would come. Now, in the erectile dysfunction business, our patients would travel a much greater distance because of the special nature of their need, of their problem. However, if we're advertising as a dentist in television and radio, we're reaching a larger audience and we're wasting advertising dollars. So it's hard to differentiate ourselves in these media, as well as we're speaking to people who aren't ever going to come to the practice. So it's wasted advertising dollars. No, they're not going to respond. So I want to tell you about a new media that, as I said at the beginning, that I stumbled upon by accident. And really, in honesty, it's not a new media. It's actually a very old media, and that is in cinema advertising. It's actually going into the movie theater and advertising on the big screens between feature films. So to give you a quick story, just last night, my wife and my son, we went to see a movie, and we get there early, about 10 minutes early before the movie starts, and on the screen comes advertising for local businesses in the area. Now, the advertising, the specific format of the advertising on the screen for these businesses was nothing more than the equivalent of taking a business card, copying it, and sticking it into the newspaper. Now, this is on a big screen with motion picture and sound, and they're scrolling through about 30 different businesses in a matter of seconds because it's just a billboard ad. These kinds of ads do not attract attention. Unfortunately, so many businesses miss the opportunity available to them in the cinema by just providing the basic information. Now, with this type of advertising, you can be much more strategic with it than you can with other types of advertising. So to give you an example, at the time I'm recording this, there are several blockbuster films that have been released. There have been the Marvel Comics Avengers Infinity Wars. There's Marvel Comics Deadpool 2. There's Solo, the Star Wars story. Just released was Jurassic World. So these are blockbuster films. And if we're strategic with our advertising, we can get in front of these audiences when there's greater numbers of people in the theater, more eyes being able to see our advertising, bigger crowds of people. So we can be very, very strategic with our advertising and when we're placing it in the movie theater. This is a much more cost-effective media to be into than even television or radio advertising. So let's break down, first of all, what happens in the cinema, in the movie theater. One of the things I want you to do is, as you are watching television, you're listening to the radio, you are reading the newspaper, you're seeing other advertising, is stop and take note of how much movie advertising there is all around you. Everybody's talking about new movies that are coming out. They're reviewing movies. They're being talked about in the local TV shows and that. Think about all of this attention that's being created and the millions and millions of dollars that is being spent and could be spent on all of this advertising. The difference between the movie cinema and television and even radio is that it's all about the experience. People who go to the movies, even once every 3 months, once every month. It's all about the experience. And the people who are going to the movie theater, they're committing 2 to 3 hours of their time to sit in a dark cinema and watch a movie. They're paying their money to be there. So they're a captured audience. They're there by choice. And according to the Motion Picture Association, the average family of 4 spends about $69.20 between tickets and concessions. The point on this is a buyer is a buyer. So a person who's going to commit 2 to 3 hours of their time to sit in a dark theater and pay upwards of $70, if they are conditioned and willing to do that, they're conditioned and willing to spend on other things. The other thing is that this is an engaged audience or a society. People who go to the movies are engaged. They follow specific actors. They're loyal to actors. They're loyal to directors. They're loyal to storylines. For instance, Star Wars or the Jurassic Park, Jurassic World, or Harry Potter. They're committed and engaged with these things. Number one, between all the advertising that's being spent to promote movies and the loyalty and the engaged audience with either movies, specific movies, or with specific actors or directors, you are piggybacking off of all that advertising. So all of this money is being spent and all of this activity is being created to drive people into a movie theater. You get to take advantage of all of that money being spent at a local level and spend nowhere near the investment to be in the movie theater to get in front of these people. And this is something not to miss. People are paying to be in a movie theater. They're excited to go see a movie. People are in a different frame of mind in the movie theater than they are sitting in front of a television. So when a TV commercial comes up on television or it plays on radio, the instinctive reaction is that it is an interruption. It is a disruption to what we're doing. And we tend to kind of rule it out. We tend to kind of block it out. If you're sitting watching television and a TV commercial comes on, what can you do? You can either get up from your chair, you can go to the bathroom, you can go to the kitchen and get something to drink, get something to eat, you can take a break, go do something, check the mail. You have the opportunity and the ability to walk away from it. People in a movie theater are there by choice. They're not getting up and walking away. They're not disconnecting from it. Now, some people have told me, oh, well, I go to the movies and I don't really pay attention to that stuff. And that's true. People don't always pay 100% attention to what's going on the screen prior to the movie playing. And this is where direct response advertising, direct response marketing, and the key, the formatting of how the commercial is formatted to get heard, to get received. So not only do we have higher levels of dopamine in the viewer's brain going on, it puts them into a better frame of mind, which makes them more receptive to messaging. They're also receiving messaging on an unconscious level, which is far more powerful than even them sitting and paying attention and watching the commercials and being engaged with the commercials. So if you're familiar with subliminal advertising at all, you know that it has been banned by the government from being used in department stores in their music. It has been banned from being used in TV and radio and having subliminal messages insert, messages that we can't see or hear consciously, but we're able to receive unconsciously, subliminally. They've been banned from all traditional forms of advertising. In the cinema, we take a person who's in a better frame of mind, who's excited and anticipating this movie, sitting in the movie theater, who may be looking at their phone, doing other things, but they're hearing these messages going on behind them. They're seeing these messages flash on a big screen in front of them. They are receiving these things subliminally. So we are actually getting greater penetration with our messages than we would be in traditional TV advertising or radio advertising. So if you're a dentist, and you do go to the movies, pay attention and see how many dentists are advertising in this space. There are some, and all the ones that I've seen are not actually doing the formatting of their commercials correctly. So imagine your ideal prospect, someone who is in that category that I mentioned earlier, who is looking for a relationship, is willing to spend money. They're spending money to be in the theater, which tells us that they're willing to spend money on other things. You're able to talk to them in complete darkness, in complete vacuum from anybody else competing for this person in other media space. So this is all about pre-show advertising to an ideal audience. So you may be a moviegoer, you may not be a moviegoer. The mistake you should not make is, if you are not a person who goes to the movie, is to make the mistake that because you don't go, other people don't go. So let's take a look at a case study. Doing work with Dr. Pauline Demetrakopoulos in St. Helena, California. She has a practice in a town of about 5,400 people. I had done my Profile of America's Best Dentist documentary film with Dr. Pauline on her practice, and we were talking about other ways that she could reach an audience and drive new patients into the practice. And I started doing some research in her geographic area. Again, who local can we bolster some new patients out of? And one of the things I found was a small movie theater in St. Helena. It was a single-screen theater of about 150 seats. They had on average between 200 and 500 admission tickets sold on a weekly basis. So I took and put together a commercial out of Dr. Pauline's documentary. I cut together a 90-second commercial, and we started advertising in the movie theater. And initially, quite honestly, we didn't have a lot of anticipation or aspirations that this thing was going to go great guns. What we found out was that in the first month, we generated about 50 new patients from the movie theater. So we did it again, second month. We generated another 50 new patients in the second month. And that was for 2 consecutive months. We then stopped after the second month, and we came back and we revisited it again 6 months later. So out of 3 months of advertising in this 150-seat auditorium, we generated 150 new patients in 3-month period. So let's look at the numbers. Let's look at the hard numbers on this. A 90-second commercial generated 150 new patients in a 3-month run. Our total investment for the campaign, including production costs to make the commercial, as well as advertising costs in the movie theater, total investment for the entire campaign was $4,344. We were front-end positive. Dr. Pauline's front-end exam, cleaning, and x-ray is $389. We did not discount it. We generated $58,350 out of those 150 patients. On the back end, once we had them, of course, we had the opportunity to see what other treatment options were available for these people. 70% of those 150 converted to patients into extended treatment. So 105 new patients went into extended treatment of an average investment for them of $1,100. So on the back end, it generated another $115,000. And what we know from Sika software is that the average patient is worth about $4,200 to us lifetime value. So our lifetime value on those 105 new patients that went into treatment was over $443,000 in value. So on the front end, we were 17-to-1 return on investment, and on the back end, we were 35-to-1 return on investment. Is this going to be the same with everybody? Maybe, maybe not.
I've done direct flyers. I've done, quite a bit of other things, and then this one is really far outshines, I think, anything else. We started out without the loop we did that you did for us. Before that, we started out. We were getting about 19 to 21 new patients a month. And after we ran that for, I think it was 2 months, we started averaging closer to 50 a month in new patients. I mean, I was impressed. I honestly was very impressed. I trusted you, and I wanted to try it. And at that point, we needed to do something, but I didn't expect anything close to what we got as a response. And do you know how many? And then I'm on the street walking or going into the grocery store, and I hear people, "Hey, I just saw you in the theater." You know? So I became a sort of a movie star in my in my own way. Cute, cute that they identified seeing me on the screen and telling their friends, and it's just a really good way to spread the word about a business. I think it's one of the best I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Well, I would encourage anybody you're talking to, please feel free to give them my number. I'll be happy to talk to any of them personally and tell them what my experience was with using the loop in the theater. I think it's one of the best advertising methods there is.
And I've reverse engineered this thing that we fell into by accident and found that there are 9 key components that have to be included into the commercial spot itself. And that's something that I do. Who is our audience? Who are we reaching? We're reaching an audience in a dark cinema in a vacuum. The media is different. There are things not to overlook in this media. It is big screen. It is grand screen. When you put something on the big screen in a movie theater, it makes everything bigger in perception. When you put things on television, it makes things smaller. So the media is critical. We are reaching people on a grander scale. We have surround sound, so we have greater impact. They are a captured, engaged audience, and they're buyers. They're there by choice for 2 to 3 hours. And lastly, it's the offer. What is the offer we're using to drive them into the practice? So let's take a look at a comparison of 5 media. And these are real numbers: television, radio, newspaper, direct mail, and cinema. You can back this DVD up and pause it and look at these numbers more in depth. I want to draw your attention, though, to the last line, the lead acquisition cost. These are the leads generated from each of the media based on distribution, numbers of impressions or broadcasts or pieces distributed. So if we quickly look at the television advertising, we did 424 spots. You can see the investment cost there for those 424, and we generated out 36 leads at an acquisition cost of $267. Radio, a little less than that, 18 leads generated, $173 lead acquisition cost. The newspaper print advertising, 168 leads generated at a cost of about $105. Then the direct mail, doing to a rented list of 8,000 impressions, generated 120 new leads at $83 per lead. And then in the cinema, we generated out 50 new patients at a cost per unit of $2.63, or a lead acquisition cost of $44.18. There's a difference in the value of the patient in the cinema versus the audience we're reaching via TV, radio, newspaper, and direct mail. To be conservative, we could probably throw out 50% of those who will never come to us just because of geography. So bottom line is that the cinema advertising is far more cost effective and far more targeted to an ideal audience, to an ideal prospective patient, as well as within an ideal geographic area. So in wrapping this up, being in this media, you're speaking to an audience that nobody else is speaking to. They are a receptive audience because they're paying to be there, and they're there for the experience, so they're in a different frame of mind. This is a media that can be ongoing, consistent, recurrent, and is predictable. The results that are driven from the advertising are predictable. As I mentioned earlier, we're borrowing off of star association. The even bigger issue is we're leveraging off of all of the media to drive people into the cinema. So movie companies, promotion companies, food and product companies are spending millions of dollars to promote movies to drive people into the theaters, and you can leverage off of all that advertising. The bottom line is that you have access to new patients and be able to put butts into your operatories. So this is something to seriously consider as a viable media option for you in your advertising and marketing. If you want to explore this further, you can schedule a discovery call with me, and we'll talk about this further. Every market and every geographic area is different. The number of screens available in movie theaters around you are different. The investments for the advertising time in those theaters is a little bit different. Getting the commercial made, we can discuss all of that type of thing. So this is a new media to you, but it is not a new media as our target audience is concerned. So if you'd like to discuss more the opportunities that could be available to you and to explore what kind of an investment and what kind of a return this could bring you for your practice, go ahead and schedule a discovery call. It's free. You can go to https://my.timetrade.com/book/CWPFR. Before we have this conversation, there are a couple of pieces of information that I'm going to need to get from you. Is number one, the zip code of your practice. Where are you located? Because I will go ahead and then compile what movie theaters are available to us within your geographic area, what type of traffic numbers they have, and then what type of an investment advertising in those cinemas if they have it available. So if you want to explore these things, go ahead and schedule a call with me at the address that you see on the screen there, and we'll set up a time. If you have any other questions, you can go ahead and reach me at askRonSheets.com and submit any specific questions to me. However, I do recommend we get on the phone together for about 30 minutes, and you will learn a wealth of information about what the opportunity is available to you in your area. Thanks for spending a little bit of time with me, and I look forward to talking to you. Thanks.